YouTube is weird. I have to put it right out the front. I've been using YouTube, creating videos for YouTube since 2009. And I've never really looked at the reach. There's a tab in your analytics called reach. And I was watching a video about this and I thought, interesting. I wonder the videos that actually suggest my stuff. And perhaps the reason why I'm not getting so many views recently is that when you go and look at the reach, the results are pretty weird. So let's just go and see the contents. Go here, contents. With contents, once you're in there, you can look, obviously see all of the different ones. You've got all the videos you've created over the last couple of months, years, etc. And there you can see one that hasn't done particularly well. It's done okay. 113. For me, that's reasonably okay. Now, I mean, one time I used to get 2,000 or 3,000, but it's 113. That's by the by. If I click on this, go into here, and then go to down here, the analytics, and then go to reach. Now you can see the estimated revenue. It's not very much, but still. What you can do is you can go to the reach, this tab here, and with that you can go down all the way down here, content suggesting this video. It's the videos down the sidebar when you've got your video and then they think, oh, you know what, this is the one that, well, the other video I should say, and it's got your video in that sidebar. That's the other way around. Okay, that's the thing you've got there. With that, you get this. And I've got this one, and this is one of mine. So a lot of the videos I notice in the list quite often are my own videos, which is fine, but it does sort of limit the audience. So if you've got an audience of, say, probably 500 people that regularly look at your videos, if the top one here, which is 18.2%, is one of yours, that's where it's doing. It's going to be very narrow band of things. It's just going to keep doing that. And I noticed on lots of my recent videos, it always seems to be just my own videos. Now, go down here to see more. And with see more, you can see the ones that are used. Now, one thing I like about this is quite nice, is you can hover over this. So you can see there, one hatched. Then US government is literally paying adults over 50. I mean, I'm not really certain that YouTube, why, if someone was watching that along the sidebar at the other side, that they would think, you know what, I'm just going to go and watch a video about affinity. No, unusual. Taylor Swift, again, no relation. Now, this one is a different person. So this is the first one in this list. And I get actually a view from it, which is to be expected, I guess. Well, at least hopefully expected. But then you've got this one, transitions you need to edit any video. I suppose at least it's about videos and imagery, graphics. There is some sort of relationship with that. Best colour pencil. I'm really quite surprised by that one, but maybe. The great pistol ruined by this one thing. I have no idea. It's guns? Really? Why is that any relation? Clearly one person clicked from that. Very odd. However, this one is something. I don't know. Rick Owens, I don't know who that is. Mesh, I don't even know what that is. It's about, looks like some machine or something. And you can see, you go down this and you've got one about Pet Set Go in Russian, maybe. My apologies if it's not. But still, how I edit my videos, sort of related, I guess. My artifacts to DaVinci Resolve and my how to wrap a perfect burrito. Anyway, you can see, you just go down this list. Now, this is what their YouTube is suggesting my video on these videos. And it's not being clicked, or very few impressions. In fact, all these ones, they're not clicking. How to wrap a perfect burrito. I can't imagine anyone in a million years from that video would click on my colour texture video. You got this one, warp tool, which is pretty good. Affinity one, it's a possible. That is a reasonable possible. But this one, I have no idea. Games, AI? I assume AI. It's got AI in the word. HP Smart Tank. emulate any lens in DaVinci Resolve, and so on. You can just see this list. Now I've got another one here. Again, no idea. CorelDRAW, sort of related, but CorelDRAW is not Affinity. Anyone going to CorelDRAW probably is not going to be interested in Affinity. So complete. And that's the trouble. It's always the trouble with these things. I quite often notice that in Affinity ones, a lot of them are like Photoshop, After Effects. So it's unlikely that anyone who's watching a video about Photoshop is going to go and click a video about Affinity. It's possible, but unlikely. So why is YouTube making such a hash or mistake of the suggestions? Now, it does eventually get it right, and I noticed this a lot. And if I go and check something else, I'm just going to show you something else. So let's just go up here again, YouTube channel, and because unfortunately it seems to, the back doesn't seem to work when you go into that. You got all these. Now, if I go, let's just quickly go through a few more don't want that one. A couple of months ago, let's just go a few ones, and it's not that many. Let's just choose something a bit further back. Let's just see, you can see lots of Affinity ones. So Affinity, corner tool. So 500, let's go with one that's got a fair amount of views. Now go here, just click into there, analytics, go to the reach, and in reach you can then go down here. Content suggested in this video. So let's just expand this out, see more. And now we can see we've got Symbols Affinity Designer, it's Affinity rated. Affinity Canva, again, a sensible choice. Symmetry for wave patterns, that's one of mine. Mesh gradients, not so much connected, but still Affinity. Pixel stretch, Affinity. Creating vector with Affinity. Affinity 3, it's not exactly the same, but it's close enough. Blender is sort of graphics related. Possibly someone's got Affinity, might have Blender as well. FreeCAD, not so much connection. Symmetry, again, the symmetry is probably the clue. Obviously, there's that in there as well. So trace a PNG in Affinity. Power, I don't know, this is day 3. Learned this too late. Power outages, I'm not so, but of course, after a while it goes. But you can see a high percentage of them are Affinity. Affinity, all the way down here. There's a few Photoshop ones, but Affinity generally. Affinity again. Therefore, when it works out and says, oh, this video is of interest, you would think that it would think, okay, this is doing quite well now. Supergirl Lobo trailer, perhaps no connection, but I guess it's always possible someone's gone from there. But it's odd because, as mentioned, the clue of where the video is often very clearly in the title. So I do not know why YouTube struggles to find an audience for it. It's not like it really struggles. I mean, I only mentioned Affinity a few times in the video, if not. The playlist that's at the end screen is Affinity. It's got a playlist inside that's connected to Affinity. And there's other bits of things, screens going off to other things, Affinity ones. The description has Affinity, not mentioned too many times. The tags have Affinity, and so on. How many clues, YouTube, do you need that this video is not for someone that's, I don't know, power outage generators? It's nothing related to that in the slightest. They are unlikely to click. And I would imagine this happens throughout YouTube. That people put videos on YouTube connected to hang gliding. When you put a video on hang gliding, you want videos at the sidebar, generally, a good 50 or 60% of the time anyway, to be hang gliding. Now, there may be people with other interests. But if you're a Photoshop user, the likelihood of being interested in Affinity is very remote. Just not going to happen properly. I mean, there might be a little bit of overlap in terms of set theory. There's going to be some set theory where there's overlap. There's going to be some Affinity and Photoshop users. But I don't think many. I really don't think there's going to... And if you're doing After Effects, the likelihood of being interested in Affinity is probably even less. Perhaps Resolve, Leonardo Resolve, DaVinci Resolve, I always call it that. DaVinci Resolve, always call it DaVinci Resolve. With that, there is some connection, as Affinity can work now with Resolve, certainly with version 21 and of course Affinity 3.2. So there's all these things. So it's just odd why it takes quite long. And I've noticed that it really, most videos of mine sort of generally take off about 6 months' time. But I find I really honestly struggle to see why YouTube struggles to find the audience. It's not, I'm going to say it's not rocket science. It's not. Maybe it's AI. I don't know. I'm not going to say, I don't know why it's such a struggle for them to work this thing out. You know, it just seems baffling. If your interests are X, Y, Z, why show ABC? Now, it's possible that occasionally you might want to look for ABC and then the algorithm would sort of shift and see that you're suddenly interested in that subject. It will show you those videos. But if you've been always watching videos about Affinity or videos about Photoshop, why would you show videos then related to something completely separate? Now, I think that maybe the problem is they don't know what the difference is between Affinity and Photoshop. I doubt there's any code in the algorithm that says, you know what, that software package is different from that package. It's just a name. It's a graphics package. Probably they don't go, you know what, people who've got X won't probably use Y. It's probably not the logic they use. It's a graphics package, so they may be interested in that graphics package. And it's very hard to create a generic... And quite often I do get, what's the name, on these ones where when they turn around and say the YouTube gurus, and I'm never be a guru, where they say you've got to sort of make your thing so it becomes more universal, so you can sort of get a bigger catchment. Well, I mean, I would imagine that Affinity now, being free, must have a catchment of probably at least 3 people. I think a few more than that. I don't know. I have no idea. 1 million? I don't know. How many people use Photoshop? I don't know. I have no idea the figures of how many use Photoshop. Can't even guess. Could look. Maybe AI could tell me. Maybe it's 20 million or something. I don't know. Or how many people use Affinity? Maybe AI will be able to tell me that. But it just seems that there's enough people you think that will be using it that there would be some sort of thing. And I can only look when I look at other channels that have got videos about AI, Affinity, that those ones, they get 30 or 40,000 views. So there clearly must be an audience. There's got to be some level of audience. I mean, but you can't really spread it out wider, that net. I mean, you can. The only way you can generally do that is one of those sort of videos that sort of like, I'm leaving Adobe because Affinity's free kind of videos. And there's millions of those. Lots of them. Lots and lots, all saying much the same. I get to the point where they're always amusing, but I always think, yeah, okay, whatever. The professionals are not going to be leaving Photoshop, or not that often anyway. They might, but if they're in the company that's got Photoshop, they're not suddenly going to say, you know what, I want to use Affinity now. Maybe the company might decide it. They might say, we can save a few quid using Affinity. We can train everyone up in Affinity. It's pretty good. So we'll do that. But it's not going to happen, I don't think. And most will be still sticking with Photoshop, however much they moan online about Adobe's going down the XYZ. Because that's what I hear all the time. And yet, weirdly, everything's going. I don't believe it. So, I still think there's quite a number of Photoshop users, but there's also lots of Affinity users. And I have also a Photoshop channel as well. Lots of my early videos with Photoshop, and this may be where the confusion happens. I know I've rambled on too much about this, but I will cover this subject maybe in other videos. But perhaps because I've got a massive backlog of Photoshop and Illustrator videos. Not so many Corel ones, but I've done that in the past. But there's been obviously mainly Photoshop for Illustrator for many, many, many years. So maybe it looks in the backlog and thinks, oh, there is some relationship between it. But I'm not going to delete all the Photoshop ones. I don't want to delete them. What would be nice, of course, and it, again, there's no point shouting at the clouds, because that's what it basically is. If YouTube added a simple feature, select these videos and put them into another channel. So you wouldn't delete them, but they're moved over to another channel. I mean, they're not monetized. Well, they are monetized on one channel, but they wouldn't be monetized if they went to the other channel. But that's the only loss. But at least they would be in their niche. Now they're not in the niche. They're in sort of, unfortunately, leftover niche, if there's such a thing. If you change the channel, you're always going to have lots of these things. I don't know if people delete them. I don't know. I don't want to delete them because I still think they're still decent videos. So why delete them even if they're not particularly being watched? And you can, of course, supposedly regenerate, boost up old videos. I'm very suspicious about that. Whether that happens, it's possible. Maybe there's good techniques to get that done, but I think that videos from about 15, 20 years ago, even though they're good, unless you're using Photoshop version CS2 or CS1, which is possible, but that audience must be small now. There's a lot of people that probably look at it, and though it's still much the same, other than obviously a few AI stuff and things, generally, probably people who look at CS1, they think, that's CS1. It's not the same now. Anyway, I haven't talked enough, rambled enough. Hopefully something in this video has perhaps been of interest, maybe in your own videos. Have you noticed this as well? Your own ones where you've gone and looked at and you think, if you look at it now, if you go over and look at your reach and think, And actually another section that's quite good is if you look at the reach and you click on it and you can actually see the impressions go. And to get a really good one, you want just like a flat line. You want to just, going up, I guess. Going that way, not that way. Don't want to go downwards. You want to go up. So I guess that's what you want. You want a fairly level, so it's going up in a decent thing. But if you've got impressions that go, and that's what mine are. And then it goes down to nothing. But it's all bouncing up and down like it has no idea where to give the videos to. Just doesn't know. So therefore it shows a real random mess and then just gives up. As I said, 6 months' time, it might suddenly perk up. And I have noticed that multiple times where suddenly 6 months, the videos suddenly start going up that way. It works out that it's affinity. How long? How long does it take? The word affinity at the start, that it's affinity videos. Please show them to affinity users. Very odd. Anyway, hope you found this of interest. Hopefully some things maybe might help in your trying to understand why your videos are doing well or not so well. Maybe if you look at it, you might suddenly notice that all the videos in that list are actually related to yours, and that's brilliant because that's surely what you want. Well, to a degree. Obviously, maybe having other videos pointed are reasonable, but I don't think it helps so much, especially when basically you just get a 0, 0, 0 all the way down, where people are not clearly interested in a video they know nothing about. They don't know anything about it. They don't know who you are. They don't know anything about it. They're not going to click on it. It's too little time to do anything like that. Anyway, bye.